Let's take a look at some rookies to watch during Challenge Cup Week 2 matches. We got a couple of rookies on our radar that we want to see them build off of what they did in Week 1. We're going to start off with Racing Louisville and Houston Dash. We're taking a look at Jealin Howell in this one. Lisa, break it down. Why we got our eye on her?
Yes, I am very, very keyed in on Jealin Howell because she's arguably could have gone number 1 overall, ended up going number 2 overall in the 2022 draft. And she was drafted to a team in Racing Louisville that needs control of the midfield. They don't have a big defensive presence in their midfield unit. And in speaking with head coach Kim Bjorkegren of Racing Louisville, Jealin Howell is a player that could be the best in the world, specifically at that position as well. And he's asking very specific things of her defensively, to hold her position, to not get out of shape, to break up transitional play. Last week against Kansas City Current, I think Jealin Howell hid. She wasn't a part of the attack. She wasn't that connector piece from the back line to the front line. She didn't switch the ball from left side of the field to the right side of the field. And maybe that wasn't her role. It was to be more defensive, to prevent Hamilton and Williams from scoring and Lola Bonta from making those deep runs out of midfield. However, now in this matchup for Racing Louisville against a team like Houston Dash, I want to see Jealin Howell take on attackers and defenders and have the ball at her feet and go towards the back line and become more part of the attack in a connecting way. I'm not saying she needs to score goals or get assists or anything like that, but I hope that Jealin Howell can watch an OL Reign game and maybe watch Quinn play and how Quinn can connect the left side of the field to the right and the front to the back. And that's what I want to see from Jealin Howell. I think last week she had some jitters in her first match, professional game against a team like Kansas City. And this week against Houston, knowing that Houston lost last week, that also helps a player in Jealin Howell's position to go up in that match and say, I can beat this team. I can go against Shea Groom and I can lock her down and then also quickly distribute the ball and start the attack for our team. So Jealin Howell, she is rookie that I am circling that I'm hoping makes big strides this weekend. And I think she will.
Okay. So in Jealin Howell being your rookie to watch, when we're looking ahead a little bit at this matchup specifically between Racing Louisville and Houston Dash, is that alluding to the fact you're going to go with Louisville in this one, or are you thinking it's going to end out a shakeout in a draw or a loss?
So I actually think Houston's going to win this one.
Okay.
I think that they got pissed off last week about Chicago and the fact that they went up a goal and then ended up conceding 3 at the end of that match. I think that they are not too happy with it. And because they are a team that has a head coach in James Clarkson that's been around and understands the Challenge Cup, I think they can look at Racing Louisville and say, we need to bring it to them. But still watch Jealin Howell. I think she'll be impressive, but I think Houston's going to come out on top in this one.
Listen, I was going to say, I like that. A rookie can, on the opposition of a loss, could still have a good game, right? Despite the result. So I like that you're looking at a rookie that's in Jealin Howell, right? Yeah, going to be in this match, but you're going the other way in terms of who's going to be coming out in as far as a result. I'm with you on that one a little bit. We talked about it in the recap, watching Houston going up against Chicago. I think there's going to be some things that they are going to try to want to build on from their week 1 performance. They struggled in the middle third. Absolutely. I think that maybe this is a trend that we saw a little bit throughout week 1 for certain teams, with some question marks in the midfield. And I think Houston was one of those teams. It'll be interesting to see what head coach James Clarkson does to try to maybe tweak some things, how that looks. We saw some substitutions come into play, but not really pan out, right? Seeing someone like Shea Groom come out and then having somebody like Brivasali come in and picking up a yellow just immediately after being on the pitch. And then I think that comes into play a little bit when they ended up moving somebody like a Sophie Schmidt right into the back line at the center back duo alongside Katie Naughton. And that's someone who typically has, held things down for the Dash in the midfield. So there's some question marks there. We're going to see if maybe the rookie in Jealin Howell has some film to go off of there to maybe sort of try to dictate some things and dictate some things in the tempo for that middle third. So I like that she is the rookie to watch. But I'm with you, Lisa, in terms of her having a breakout game a little bit, but maybe Houston still figuring things out enough to walk away with the win. I just liked what we saw from their attacking line with Sanchez and Michelle Prince and Rachel Daly, very nearly, bringing the heat towards that final 15 minutes against Chicago Red Stars, with Prince and Daly getting some quality looks on goal, forcing some saves out of Alyssa Nair. So I got to think that the finishing is going to come for that team a little bit sooner rather than later. And I too am going to be going with Houston in this match with a breakout game from the rookie in Jealin Howell. We'll see. Let's keep it going with more rookies, though. Let's pay attention to some more rookies during the Challenge Cup, because this is really, we're still in the early vibes. We're still in the early energy of 2022 and NWSL. And this is really the time when we're starting to see new faces, rookies specifically, getting some time on the pitch, perhaps trying to still get some evaluations in, on the coaching side of things. And they want to see the development of these young players and how they fit in to their schemes and their tactics. So for me, I'm going to be looking at Ava Cook this weekend for the Chicago Red Stars. When we're talking a little bit about substitutions happening over the course of match week 1, I want to see Ava Cook again in match week 2 for Chicago Red Stars. This is someone who came onto the pitch for Chicago at the start of halftime and immediately made an impact for the team alongside fellow rookie Sarah Griffith. Ava Cook getting some shots off, getting into the box, getting a little bit rough and tumble at some points with the Houston Dash backline. Ended up winning a foul in the box off a 70s play that led to that penalty kick awarded. So tons of stuff out of Ava Cook already, and I would love to see more of it this coming weekend for Chicago as they prepare to take on Kansas City Current, Lisa.
I love this pick because Ava Cook is she's not going to be the star of Chicago Red Stars because Mallory Pugh is that role player. She needs to score goals. She needs to get on the board. She needs to be the forward that teams occupy. So that leaves a very specific role for the other forwards alongside Mallory Pugh in Ava Cook, Sarah Griffith. But I think Ava Cook did a tremendous job being that role player, meaning you receive the ball as a forward and you hold up play. You either drop it back to Nagasato underneath you or you flick it off to Pugh running on, but you are not the one that's going to score 30 goals this year. And I think as a rookie, it's almost good for Cook to not have that pressure on her, to not have to go out every game or every practice and find the back of the net at 90% of the time, because that role has already been given to Mallory Pugh. And Cook does a nice job in the last match against Houston of using her body, bodying up against defenders, receiving that ball from either the Chicago backline or the midfielders, and then allowing Pugh to make those diagonal deep runs through the backline of opponents off of Cook. So this is a great one to watch. Another good rookie. I mean, there's so many good rookies to keep an eye on in this league, but Jealin Howell for sure. Ava Cook, a really good one from Chicago. So in this matchup, Chicago versus Kansas City, Chicago got the win. They are the only other team besides North Carolina that walked away with 3 points last week. I have Chicago winning this matchup. What do you have, Sandra?
Oh, I love it. It's like music to my ears every single time you pick the Chicago Red Stars for a win on here, Lisa. But you know what? I said that Houston was going to win last week over Chicago, and I was wrong. And you know what? I'm not necessarily going to make that mistake again, but I don't think this one's going to end up in a result. I think this one's going to be a draw. When I'm looking at Kansas City Current, I'm looking at teams who are going to try to maybe tighten up some things in their week 2 matches. And I'm looking at Kansas City Current. And when I look at their roster, it's a roster that we've both been equally impressed by, right? When we saw the moves that they were making in the offseason and sort of assembling this team to go out and compete in 2022, coming off of a last place finish in their inaugural season, I'm excited for this team and what they are going to try to put together in this season. So they closed out their week 1 with a 1-1 draw, kind of having to come from behind. And we saw a lot of activity from this team in the final third. And we're talking from teammates who have familiarity with each other, right? Haley Mace, Chrissy Hamilton, Lynn Williams, Sam Mewis, all having that familiarity of playing with each other previously at North Carolina Courage. And we started to see some of that activity happening in that final third. It was a little disappointing to see all of these crosses. It was like 26 something crosses, 24 total shots, for Kansas City Current to close out that game against Racing Louisville and to walk away with one goal. You got to think that, again, similar to Houston Dash, where I was talking about the finishing is going to figure itself out sooner rather than later. I don't know if that's going to be in week 2 because Chicago has a fairly decent backline and goalkeeper of their own, right? With the matchup that we're going to be looking at with the goalkeepers with AD French and Alyssa Nair, that could turn into this type of game. We've yet to see that. So we saw a little bit of a goalkeepers match, I think, in the California clash. I think we might see that again in this sort of Midwest battle between these two sides with French and Nair going head to head. And that's why I've got this one coming out as a draw for Chicago and Kansas City.
I kind of like the draw, Sandra. I'm here for it. I'm still going to go with Chicago on this one. I think they just have the momentum from last week. I think playing with the 3 back and 5 in the midfield works really well for them. And going up against a team like Kansas City is going to give them trouble, but I think Chicago can handle it attacking wise. I think they'll get more goals.
Well, you like it. I love it. Again, it's music to my ear. Anytime you decide to choose my hometown side, I appreciate it.